that, we continued our discussion on the relationship between perspective and reality. And we added a few more tools to our box. We discussed the half full, half empty glass, the story of our lives, and remembering that both are always going to be there, but we have a choice what we are going to notice. We also discussed the world as our mirror. And sometimes the unpleasant things we're seeing are deliberate design for us to know what we need to work on. And also celebrate success. Remember it, review it, repeat it in your mind. It's the best way to keep working on this. I hope you find this useful, and I hope you enjoyed tonight's class. So last week, we spoke about this idea of perspective and reality and shifting it, and from all the myriads of people on now. and anybody see anything over the week that made them remember this, or they did something because of this? No? Okay. So we spoke last week about baseless hatred and baseless love, which was, as we said, an amazing, appropriate, happened to be topic for the 9 days. We spoke about baseless hatred. We said that means when you're just upset at someone, you don't like them, and then afterwards you figure out why, because their very presence makes you feel smaller. Their very success makes you feel minimized and less successful and less secure. It's almost like they pull out your insecurities and make you question yourself and make you feel not good about yourself. And since they're making you feel not good about yourself, you don't like them either. That's like the baseless hatred scenario, which caused the destruction of the sacrifice of victims. Baseless love, we said, which is what we're going to replace that with, is the inverse. First we love, then we'll figure out why. First we have a positive perspective. First we have a embracive, loving, wanting to see everyone in such a good eye perspective. We can figure out how we justify that. So that's what we were working on. And last week we gave 3 ideas, all practical, positivity and favorably judging and looking at every other person and knowing how valuable they are in Hashem's eyes. And all of that really helps just look at the world in a certain way, and then the world reflects back at you. That was last week. We want to continue this. 4 ideas. And then some exercises on this, because if we want to make it happen, it's good to put into practice. So, we say in English, the glass is half full, the glass is half empty. Meaning is when the glass is half full, it is also half empty. And when it's half empty, it's also half full. Both are true. But the question is, which is healthier for me to envision? The baseless love perspective means I look at me, I look at my life, I look at my world, and I say, it's good, it's full, it's rich. And that gives me confidence. That gives me success in my life. If I see it as half empty, which also is there, I'm not making something up perhaps. I'm lacking this doesn't work, this is half broken, this should be updated. I feel bad in my life. And as we feel bad in our life, that just creates the negativity, the discontent, the failures, because I'm already looking with a pessimistic eye. That's going to be nurturing. And when I look, so this perspective, yes, it's half empty. And by the way, yes, it's half full. So let me focus on that part of my life, or that vision of my life. And I anticipate good, and I expect good. And then, of course, lo and behold, I see good. It's just affirming how good my life is, which gives me the confidence, which gives me the assurance for the next great step. So the more I look this way, the more I feel this way, the more I act this way, the more that energy is going to come right back to me in the positive and the successes of my life. It works in both directions. Yes, it's true. And in most of our lives, there's this we can focus on, and there's this we can focus on. But this perspective helps us, and this perspective harms us. Next idea. So what we were just saying was deepening this idea of positivity. And the deepening of it is saying, when we're saying positivity, it doesn't mean that there's nothing else going on in our life but positivity. No, we live in this world, and yes, there's the good stuff, and there's the salt that makes us appreciate the good stuff more. So that's always going to be. And therefore, every day we have a choice. We have a choice. Which one am I going to fill my vision with? Which one am I going to let color how I view my life? And the things that are not working are true, and the things that are working are true. And it's just stop and breathe and make a choice and focus on the things that are working. Focus on the blessings. Focus on the good. Not that I'm unaware of the other things. I'm very aware of the other things. But I don't want that to be my focus, because I want to look at my life and really, really feel how good it is. And the more I feel it's good, the more I look at the world, the more I look at the world as this good world, as this good life, as a place where things good are happening to me. So what we're just saying here, sort of broadening what we said last week on this idea, is a positive outlook doesn't mean that everything's perfect in your life. It doesn't mean that you're unaware if there's anything in your life that's not perfect. There are things that are not perfect in most of our lives, and we're completely aware of them. But we have a choice what to focus on. And I want to focus on those things that are going to give me a healthier and healthier, more and more positive perspective on my life. Because the more I have that perspective, the more I'm going to look at the world in a certain way, and I'm going to see it smiling back at me that way. All right, so I'm glad some people managed to get on. I hope Heidi does as well. Next idea. We're talking here about how we create that positive perspective, because we know, as we discussed at length last week, that perspective is really shaping reality. So another idea to keep in mind, these are all different ideas. These are all going in your toolbox. Any of them could be helpful or not, depending on you and your situation, but you want to have them all there. The world is my mirror. When I look and see bad, just like we said last week about the Kohen, about the priest. If you remember the concept, which is very interesting because it's law, it's halakha, it's legal Judaism, that when the Kohen, when the priest looks at someone and he sees him entirely covered with this tsaras, with this spiritual leprosy, he says, no, he's kosher, it's my eyesight. So when I'm looking at the world, when I'm looking at things going on, and I see things that are not good, things that are not positive, things that are wrong, things that are painful, I have to ask myself, is this a reflection of my own negative take on life? And sometimes it's not clear. And sometimes the answer is no, it's absolutely not. Sometimes you should discuss this with a mentor, meaning we all have those wonderful people that are cheerleading us through life and are always telling us how wonderful we are. But that's not the person I'm talking about, because they might not tell it to you straight. But we need that person who can see it straight and who cares about us enough that we know when they say it straight, we take it, because we know they're saying it out of care, out of love. So someone will tell me straight, yes, you're wrong, or you're partially wrong. Most times, especially if there's some altercation between people, as we all know, usually there's issues on both sides. Now, it could be 90% his side and 10% mine. It doesn't have to be 50-50, but most of the time there's guilt, if you want to use that term, on both sides. So when I look at the world and I say, the world's my mirror, I see a lot of people being very self-centered. I see a lot of people being not so kind or not so giving. Maybe I'm seeing this to reflect what I need to work on. And when I change myself, I'll change what I see in the world. It sounds like almost like, oh, come on, that's too simple. That's too easy. That. But it actually really works. It really works. It sounds like weird that it should work that way. But very often.
Wait, Ms. Turin.
Yes, Shira.
What if you see something that you don't like and you purposely make an effort to not do that? That means that you have that same bad trait. Like if you see people around you are being really judgmental and you don't like it, and you make an extra effort to not be judgmental, that means what? That you naturally are judgmental? You have to work on yourself?
The question would always be, are you seeing this to help these other people? In other words, if you would see your children are being very judgmental, is it reflecting that you are judgmental and that's why you see it? Or is it reflecting that you have the ability to tell them and to sort of say it casually or bringing up a lot of times, it's so easy for me to be judgmental and I'm really working on myself and this happened and this happened and this happened and this happened, and keep pushing them with this point, and then they're going to change. In general, we say that God is very, very, very precise. Meaning if someone is judgmental, let's take your example of judgmental. Let's say someone is judgmental, which is something I think we were actually talking about like last week. So it's great. Let's say if someone's judgmental and you have no ability to help them. You have no ability to improve them. You're not seeing it to help them. Why do you have to see it? There's plenty of people that have plenty of issues in this world. But why do you need to know about it?
Why is Hashem showing you someone else's, so to speak, dirty laundry? Why do you need to be aware of it? So that's why, as the Baal Shem Tov teaches very strongly this concept, of course, we all know by now, the whole Jewish world knows this idea of Hashgacha Pratis. Everything's very, very, very precise. So why are you shown something that you have no way of helping the other person with? Maybe it's a reflection on something I need to work on. And you could say, me, I work so hard on being not judgmental. I'm so good at it. I'm so careful with it. It could be very true. And maybe it's your forte. Hashem is sort of saying, you could get even better. We discussed, I don't think it was last week, I think it was 2 weeks ago. We discussed this idea of giving Hashem the gift of our strength, giving Hashem the gift of our weakness. I believe that was 2 weeks ago. We discussed that idea that we all have things that we're very good at, and we all have things that we're not so good at. And it could be, again, taking Shira's example, maybe this is one of the reasons your neshama came into this world. Maybe you're supposed to be like, have a double PhD in this. So even though you're really good at it and you're aware of it and you've improved so much, but maybe Hashem's saying, keep working. I'm showing you this just to say, I know you're sensitive. I know you're careful, but keep working. Maybe keep working because this is a deep, deep, deep weakness of yours. Maybe keep working because this is a deep, deep strength. But that is how we would look at it, unless, again, you're observing something in some situation of somebody that you could help. Like, again, the most obvious example would be your children, where you're being aware of their issues, not, of course, you could say your kids more than anyone else will reflect you, which could also be true. But at the same time, also your children are people that you're really very responsible for. So I could be shown things that I totally have gotten past, but they haven't, and I need to help them. So that would be basically the idea. But what I'm saying is, so it could seem like, taking Shira's idea, what? So I'm going to work on not being judgmental, and suddenly nobody in the world around me is going to be judgmental? Like, come on. But the point is, it doesn't mean like they're all going to miraculously get cured. Be nice. That's not what we mean. What we mean is you're not going to see it. It's not going to affect your world. It will be there. You're not curing everyone by you, but you won't need to be aware of it, because if you're aware of it, there's a reason. And most of the time, unless you can help the people, the reason is for you to have like a mirror to understand yourself. Has anyone done this? Like, let's talk the converse, because obviously we have mentioned this more than once in this class, this idea. Has anyone seen how this works? That they keep bumping into other people's egos or dishonesty or pettiness, and they say, all right, maybe I'm being given a message here, and they start working on themselves and they actually stop seeing it so much? Has anyone ever had that happy story?
I had that with the one person who for some reason I kept bumping into her and she just annoyed me. I don't know why. And then I just stopped seeing her. It was weird.
That's another version of it. Exactly. You had to do your work. Once you did your work, maybe if you kept seeing her, she would still annoy you for whatever reason. Hashem says, fine. She doesn't need to be in your orbit. She doesn't need to be in your orbit so much because, she doesn't need to be. So she wasn't. I take that as a good success story. You did what you were supposed to do. I would look at it that way. Anyone else? Okay, well, you might be surprised, but it really works. It really works. Even like, as she was saying, to the degree of, then I just stopped seeing her so much. You didn't need to see her anymore. Another idea. We spoke last time. We spent about a good hour on this subject, and we were talking, really strongly to the point about this whole idea of perspective shaping reality and being positive and being non-judgmental and focusing on the value of every Jew. And hopefully people took it to heart and worked more on this idea and really, try to really look at things in a positive way. Keep reminding yourself when it worked, when it helped, meaning you judged favorably and later found out that was actually the truth. You made some great excuse for this person and actually found out you were pretty close to what was really going on in their life. When you were excessively positive about your life and your world, and then you actually saw things improve as you looked at them good. Simple example, when you were affirming your child for a strength she wasn't yet expressing, and then she started living up to your positive messages. It's really unbelievable. Keep reminding yourself of those unbelievable successes. Shira just said, this person and annoying me and the work I needed to do, and then I stopped seeing her. Keep remembering that, because for some of us, this whole idea of looking at the world positively and seeing good and expecting good and anticipating good, and the good comes at you, is so natural. It's the go-to. And for everyone else, especially the naturally pessimistic, the naturally critical, those of us burnt by life too many times, it's very unnatural. And when it's very unnatural, we need to both remember the successes and we need to keep replaying the good wins in our mind until the next one. It's the best way to remind us to keep doing it. It worked. The idea of it worked is very exciting. So let's say, again, you were like trying to be really positive with your child who was so annoying and seemed so irresponsible. And you kept trying to give her this message of how responsible she is. And then you saw her actually doing something and stepping up to the plate and being responsible. That was very exciting. But that bit of excitement doesn't take away necessarily the pattern of 30 or 40 years. Those patterns are probably still stronger. So the idea of rethinking the successes, reminding yourself it worked, it was great, I looked at the world positively, and something good happened that I wasn't expecting. I looked at this person positively, and they were much better than I imagined. My positive perspective really made a difference. The more you keep reminding yourself of your own script, of what happened in your own life, which is much more powerful than what happens in anyone else's life, the more natural it is to keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. Because for a lot of us, it's not natural to be positive. For a lot of us, it's very natural to be critical and negative. So we have to work really hard to get into this mode, which seemingly, well, who wouldn't want to be positive? You know, who wouldn't want to be happy? Who wouldn't want to create good energy all around them? I mean, all of us in theory want that, but our habits might be very different.